So how you feeling coming away from that exhibition, just as far as the progress you guys are making?
Yeah, obviously we were pleased. Again, I think watching the film, just our sustained focus and effort for 40 minutes was as good as any of our teams have been in a situation like that, exhibition game. So pleased. Obviously, you look at it, we didn't have Christian or Justin, and so we played a lot of young, inexperienced guys, but I thought their focus was great.
You mentioned at Pac-12 Media Day you thought this might be your best defensive team that you had. Did you see a little bit of that during the scrimmage?
I think so. We have these things where we get 3 stops in a row. I think we had 9 of those in the first half and maybe 18 for the game. Again, it's a little different level of competition we know we're going to face now moving forward, but still to have that kind of a focus and sustained effort out of such a young group says a lot. Now, we've had some pretty good defensive teams back in GP Tuesdays, but I think across the board, this team might have great potential, but we got a long way to go.
Is there a guy on this roster that really sort of pushes the needle even farther on the defensive end?
When we get cranked up, Dexter's probably the one that's setting the tone with his ball pressure, with his communication. He's the guy that we look to if we're maybe a little lackadaisical defensively to get us going for sure.
You've seen a lot of success the past couple years and the postseason, so you know what it takes for teams to be successful, especially when it matters. So what are you just looking for in your team this year to reach the same level of success that you know that you can get to?
Yeah, we've got it. Well, we had a tough year last year, so we kind of got to get over some of the residues, I'll say, from that. But the kids that we have here, the young men we have here, in the recruiting process, that we made it very clear what it takes to get there. You have to have that focus, the togetherness, playing hard every day, really keeping your eyes and ears open to learn. We have to be patient as a staff because we know it is a process, but we've gotten very good at playing our best basketball at the right time towards the end of the year and really building it as the season goes on. And so we have to remind ourselves, even with the amount of young guys we have, they're going to listen and they're going to learn something we didn't maybe have and play a season ago, but the years before that we did, and it led to great things. So our guys are aware of it, and we just need to hold them accountable each and every day.
You said these guys have been very receptive to coaching so far. What's sort of the biggest example of that as you've seen?
Well, we've got a lot of new pieces, but there's no egos. We're not having to coach attitude and effort, which really is a key. If you can just focus on the X and O things, you can get where you need to go much more rapidly, and I think this group's done that, and that proves their coachability. They come with their hard hats every day. They leave their egos in the locker room. Even some of the early film sessions, guys are laughing at themselves, when they make mistakes, and that really puts us in a good environment to keep pushing each other, keep learning, and the neat thing is when we leave the court, how well they get along. And we've mentioned that a bunch of times. People have noticed it, just what a collective group it is. So I think all those added up put us in that position.
What are you looking for from this team in the early non-conference schedule before you get to sort of that big blue blood with Duke on Thanksgiving?
We just have to keep improving. Our guys aren't real comfortable yet with our changing defensive style, our 1-3-1, our 2-3 zone. We've got to get better there. Offensive execution, taking care of the ball, but really early on, if we can just hang our hat on great ball pressure, great team defense, rebounding the ball, which was not a strength a year ago, and taking care of the ball offensively, moving it, we'll continue to make strides. I was asked a really good question at Media Day with this young group. If you guys get knocked around at all, what gives us confidence that the team will come back, be resilient, and keep improving? And I think it's the fact that we have a lack of egos. The guys really, buy into team ball. So, we talked in film the other day. I don't think there's any team that starts the year thinking they're going to go undefeated. And so if we do suffer a defeat, and maybe a tough one early, how are we going to respond? We always got to come back and get to work, get back after it to make improvements.
You mentioned the fact that those first couple of years here, you had some really good defensive teams. In bringing in this latest group of newcomers, how much did you kind of focus on defense?
It was our number one focus from the time we brought them all together in July. we figured we would have some pieces we'd have to bring along slowly offensively, just for lack of experience. But I think the defensive side of the ball, you get your guys bought in, you can defend from an earlier stage, and our guys have done that. We defended really well by and large when we were in Italy, our scrimmage, and then our exhibition game. And we've got a lot of new pieces. So I don't think we've got enough experience to where we're not being fooled. That translates. So that's what gives us the confidence that that's going to be a strength of ours, hopefully sooner than later.
I feel like a lot of people don't talk about how much of a mental game basketball is. After looking at last year, how do you feel like you might have built that mental side to help with your team's confidence coming into this season?
Yeah, well, a big thing is we only have a few guys back from that group, and they're guys that we feel like we're bought in and part of the solution. And then we've added the pieces we felt necessary, starting with some of the X and O traits, just high character guys that are selfless, put the team first. So that was a big step. And then we don't dwell, like even if it was the Elite Eight year last year, we wouldn't dwell too much on what's happened in the past. We do remind the things that promote good health as far as the team's growth, and maybe negative, and then trying to avoid the negative and really stay positive with all the steps that we take moving forward. So our team's bought into that. Rarely have we mentioned anything from a year ago. If we see something that sparks a little bit of a memory, hey, that's not how we're doing things anymore, that's not going to lead us back where we need to go. And then this young group, and I don't mean just the freshmen, we've got some guys that are only in their second year. We're saying you're going to be responsible for getting us back to the days of just 2-3 years ago. And it's a big responsibility, but it's one they're not shying away from. And as young and inexperienced as we are, I know that we're not going to be scared when we go out there. And even when we face adversity, they're gonna know that they can rely on each other and pull together and get back into things. So they're a confident group, and I know the in vogue thing nowadays is to try to get old and stay old through the transfer portal, and some people have done a really good job with that. But I think what we need to do now with this young class is really lay that foundation for getting back to where we belong. And sometimes youthful ignorance can be a good thing because they don't know any better. And this group's got a lot of confidence and a lot of faith, but they know it's not going to happen overnight too, which is a good thing.
Your team has grown a lot over the past year. In what ways do you feel like you've kind of grown as a coach? What lessons may you have learned from last season that you're taking into this season?
Well, I've always been blessed to have great people around me, and we've always remained humble, even through the good times. We know how quickly it can turn and go the other direction, and just the realization I've got great family around me, great staff, and friends that keep us focused on. Really, our number one job is to give all we can to these young men. We want to make incredible future players, obviously, and students, but husbands and fathers down the road. And we remind ourselves of that. Like, we're winning that. And when we have the right combination of all the different pieces, we win on the court too. So we know we're going to get back there. We've proven our formula works. There were some weird circumstances that kind of led to the failures of last year, but that's behind us, and we're very confident we'll get back to where we need to be.
So Wayne mentioned you as one of the guys who really sort of leads this defense, and he mentioned at Media Day, you were there with him, of how he thought this could be one of the better defensive teams he has. Do you see that reflection on this team? And if so, I mean, what are some other key pieces that really leads this defensive effort?
Right. I mean, I think Coach is definitely right, and I think we all kind of see it throughout the practices and the different games that we've had. I think just right now, looking at our team, I mean, from the shortest to the tallest player, like, we all have length. We all have length, and we all have that kind of will and desire to get stuff done on the defensive end. I mean, guys like Mike, Dima, Glenn, even guys like, Jordan Pope, Nick Crash, like, I mean, everybody, but I mean, just going down the line, I mean, those guys just have a desire just to, really get it done on the defensive end. And then, the coaches have done a good job of kind of, trying to, I guess, implement that kind of character into us, and we just trying to carry that throughout day in and day out.
Where did you get the defensive energy you play with on the court from?
I think it's just kind of something that I've kind of grew up with. I mean, just playing against different guys and being able to kind of see how they play. I think I just kind of grew into that role of kind of being like a defensive stopper for most of the teams that I played on, and I've seen all kinds of offensive players. So I feel like being experienced in that kind of aspect, I kind of seen it all. So I've kind of been able to, okay, this guy kind of plays like somebody that I played against in years past. So just trying to compare, contrast those two different, not two different, but multiple different types of styles of games I've been able to kind of pick up with.
Now on the offensive end as well, you had 20 points in the exhibition game. Are you comfortable taking a leading role there on the offensive end with so many new faces on this roster?
I would probably say it was just my night. I think with the team that we have right now, I think anybody could kind of get it going. So, I mean, the ball kind of just found its way to me, and by God's grace, I was able to hit those shots. But I think, the guys that we have, Glenn, Jordan, Dima, anybody could, have a big night. So, and the way the offense is structured with the coaches and how they structure the offense, I think, it could be anybody's night. You just never know.
Is there a guy flying under the radar offensively that we probably haven't seen yet, but you've seen every day that's just sort of waiting to break out?
I mean, honestly, a lot. I think everybody's like really talented offensively, and that's kind of. I mean, I think we're all underrated. I mean, you might see guys that you probably wouldn't see or expect a big night from coming in these next few games and stuff. So
knowing that you're kind of coming into this season as underdogs after what happened last season, how does that make that feel? Do you guys kind of like that feeling? Does it bring pressure? In your experience, what do you think?
Right. I mean, I've been an underdog my whole life. I'm pretty sure these guys kind of been underdogs their whole life. So, I mean, it's nothing new that we're not used to. And I mean, even for this whole organization. You saw what happened years past. We were as a 12th seed, and ended up winning the tournament and then making a big run in the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, it's kind of what we live for. It's always going to be like that. So,
looking back at that exhibition, what are some positive signs that you guys are making progress to where you want to be?
Right. I think. I mean, obviously, like the X's and O's. It was okay. Our first exhibition game, but I think the biggest thing is that we were all connected throughout, even through the lows of the game, even through the highs of the game. Like, we didn't get too high in those high moments, and then when we did make mistakes, we didn't get too low, we didn't get too down on ourselves. So I think that's the biggest thing that the coaches saw and that us players saw that was a big positive for us, that we're able to stay in the moment.
Coach said that your connection off the court has really helped you guys on the court. In your experience, how do you feel like that really helps a team be successful?
Right. I mean, for sure, like, if you look at teams, I mean, even the NBA, like, everybody can make a shot. Anybody can make a shot. But I think if you're connected as a team, that just adds a certain type of, like, energy and atmosphere into the way that you play the game. So I think it's huge, and I think it's going to be huge for us for sure.
Coach also said that this team is very much not about their ego. They're not egotistic. As a leader on this team, how do you guys hold that standard and that culture? What's important about it to you?
Right. I think it's just through confirmation day in and day out from the coaches and from the players as well. I mean, we're happy for each other. Like, we're generally happy for each other and each other's success. And I think that's, I don't know how to explain it, but I think that's just how we kind of grew up accustomed to. So I think it's just maybe the luck of the Irish, but I mean there's also I guess a work aspect to it by the culture that the coaches kind of established, and kind of we're just taking on that role and taking on that culture.
So, Glenn, what do you see as your role on this team?
Really just to bring the young guys together. We got a very young team. So really just give my experience, give what I learned my last year, and and really just be a vocal leader on the court, off the court, and just really lead by example, do the right things. Really just be a leader, honestly. We're very young, so I feel like I'm going to have to take a big role in leadership.
So for you, leadership-wise, is that more lead by example or more vocal?
I feel like it's both. I feel like being vocal is carry into leadership. I feel like somebody got to be that vocal leader. Dexter has been doing a great job with that, taking in that role as he's another second-year player that was on the team. But I feel like both on and off the court.
What's your favorite thing about this group of newcomers you have on this roster?
We're just so versatile. I feel like everybody do something different. It's so fun. I don't know. It's just gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting. Everybody's locked into winning. Everybody said like they play to win. That's probably the most exciting. Everybody's play to win.
Coach mentioned, this could be one of his best defensive teams he has had here in Corvallis. How do you see that reflected out there on the court?
I agree with him because everybody guards 1 through 5. Even Show could sit down there on the 2 or 3 sometimes. So I feel like I agree with that because we are so versatile and long. Like you got Michael from Germany, you got Tyler. Everybody could guard 1 through 5, I feel like.
What do you like most about being an underdog coming into this season?
I love it. I feel like a lot of people gonna underestimate us. That's perfect for us. Come here and act like they just gonna win. We're gonna run over them.
I got one more for you guys.
You mentioned Dexter becoming more of a vocal guy. Did you kind of see that coming? Last year he was a newcomer like yourself, but did you kind of see that coming this year, being more vocal?
Yeah, me and Dexter talk all the time. We already know with us coming back, we was gonna have to beat them too, leading captains, stuff like that. And Dexter does a great job. He came from Marquette. He had Marcus Howard as his role model and stuff, so he already know a lot of how it goes and stuff like that. And he even been a leader to me, so that helps me as a young guy.